chosen to take his medical life under his own wing and take care of himself. And so I want very much to introduce to you today Robert Geiger, who is going to share with us his journey and his story and what he's doing for himself, which we all can learn from and all break free from all the other stuff to true freedom. So, with that, let me introduce to you Robert Geiger. Robert, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Marilyn. How are you? Nice to be here.
Oh, it's very nice to have you here. So, one thing I want to say is happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No. It was a wonderful day yesterday. So beautiful. Great day for an anniversary.
Good. So,
8 years.
how many, 8 years? You took the words out of my
Yeah.
mouth. Cool, 8 years. Well, we're
hmm
delighted to have you here and ready to share your story. So, tell us some things about you and what you have been going through.
Well, let's see. I guess for about 25 years, I've been some kind of an entrepreneur. And most of that time, I was in high technology and technology in general. And since I met Nanette, I started getting into internet publishing and internet marketing and business marketing. And I've done a ton of business coaching. I've coached lots of different companies and owners of companies and helped them to build those companies. And it's just a wonderful thing to be able to do. And then lately, I'm also the president of Born Toastmasters. And Born Toastmasters is a group of advanced speakers. And so I spent a lot of time speaking lately and learning, honing my craft and wanting to get out there and speak. This year was going to be a rollout year for me. I had actually purchased the Raleigh Entrepreneur Organization from Christine Alexander. So I'm sure many of your listeners are probably familiar with
Well,
Christine.
so let's just clarify that for a second. So that's a woman here, a local businesswoman locally here in
hmm
Raleigh, North Carolina, because we want to just say that because we have listeners
Yeah,
from all over the world. So we just want to clarify that.
right. And Christine's a wonderful person, and locally in Raleigh, she's built up the Raleigh Entrepreneurs Organization. And she's now running a company with her husband. So now I've picked up on the Raleigh Entrepreneurs Organization, and I have a partner, Rob Kostelic, is in that as well. And we're doing all of this, and I had spoken at my first event on January 2nd, and I thought I had a bellyache after that. And shortly after that week, it was getting a little worse. I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was constipated. And then I just wound up in the hospital on January 10th and had emergency surgery. They removed a tumor that was about 4.6 centimeters, I think it was. And it turned out to be stage 4 colon cancer. And that came as quite a shock, as you would imagine. So from there, all plans changed. Everything just went, okay, entrepreneurism got put on hold. And I basically dedicated myself to learning everything I could about cancer. It's what I do when I start a new project. I figured this is just a new project. Let me dig deep. Let me go and research. Let me look all over the internet. Let me read books. Let me find out what I can find out about cancer and learn if it's possible what can I do? I mean, I know that there were doctors out there. I know that there are medical practitioners, there are professionals. They all want to help, and they're all out there doing their thing. But I knew that somehow inside of me is this machine, my body, that can heal itself somehow. And somehow I made it so that I was unhealthy and I grew cancer.
Robert, let me
So
interrupt
somehow I
you.
should be able to not do that.
Let me ask you,
Sure.
what was it? How would you know that? What was it that came from inside of you, or where did you get that knowledge from that you knew that you didn't have to rely on another system, that you were the best you had? Where did that come from?
Well, I wasn't 100% certain of anything. Let me just say that. And also, I've had no medical training. I'm not a doctor, and I've had some experience, in the medical industry, I guess, from a technology point of view. So, having said that, how did I know internally that there was something that I could do for myself? Well, I think like everyone else, I've always heard that, oh, eating this way is good for you, having a salad is good for you, this is good for you, that's good for you, this is bad for you, that's bad for you. And I've seen a lot of the movies and the documentaries and things like that. The thing is that I think that like everybody else, I did a little good stuff, and then, I'd have a slice of pizza. and because it was there, and I'll just have a little bit more, and oh, and then tomorrow I'll have something good for me, and then maybe oh, it's a steak dinner, and I can't get anything good in this restaurant, so I might as well eat bad. So I eat bad, then I eat good, then but all along I had a clue. I don't think I followed the clues, and I didn't really implement them until, they say that no one changes their behavior until they're too afraid not to. And I was, of course, at this point, too afraid not to go all in and figure out what is it that I need to do, because I know that I can do better. Now, if that also includes professional medical treatment, at the time when this all started, I was like, okay, maybe it's both. Maybe it's all them. Maybe it's all me. I wasn't really sure, Marilyn.
I think it's very interesting, that word clue, because, I mean, I could do a whole big thing on that alone, because, I mean, you sit back and you wonder, I mean, that was interesting. How, first of all, before I talk, I want to know, how do you define clue?
Say again, how do I
How do you
define?
define the word clue? You had a clue. How do you define that word for yourself?
Well, a lot of them were external clues. Like I said, things that I'd heard, things that I'd read. My wife, Nanette Geiger, is I mean, she's very steeped in all kinds of, Eastern approaches to life, and Chinese medicinal stuff, oils, essential oils. She knows, and I've been sort of hearing about stuff, so I couldn't not know somehow that my body can heal itself somehow. I just didn't know what to do for it. And see, the other key thing about my life is that it's been filled with stress. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur and it's all on you, and you have to make your paycheck every single month, this is not something that's easy for most people to deal with. And the thing is that you're marching forward and you have a good month and a bad month. And that over time, that stress will get you. And in 2000, I was divorced. And during the early 2000s, I had a son with a serious medical issue that just taken me out. And, when you're concerned about the life of a child, all of this stuff was going on for me over the last, 10, 15 years in a really big way. And that kind of stress inside just eats you up. And I didn't know it was eating me up. And I think that, for a long time when you're young and you're healthy, I was able to pretty much do anything and deal with anything. But I think that as I got a little older and you gain another pound and another belt, another hole on the belt, another pair of pants, another size, you start to just not realize that you are now operating above the level of stress that you're able to handle.
Right.
I think that's how I just wound up in that kind of place. So I just knew that I know I can lower my stress. I know that I can eat better.
Let me
I
say
didn't know what to
something.
eat.
And let me
Sure,
say
yeah, go
something
ahead.
to everybody. These clues, I think we all have, maybe we don't, but many of us do all have this knowingness of things. We know what's right and we know what's wrong. And when you get these clues, we don't always listen. And we all get them all the time. They're thrown at us constantly, and we don't always listen. But, like Robert is saying, at some point, you kind of take clue number one and you attach it to clue number two, and then you take clue number three, and before you know it, you have some kind of big message, some kind of repetitive message that you can't deny. And so before Robert goes on, I just want to invite anybody to call us if you like, everybody. 919-518-9773. That's the number right here into the studio. Or if you want to come in on Skype Voice, Robert's on video, but we can welcome you on Skype Voice at computers, that's plural, the number 2K Voice. And you can share your story. You can ask Robert his opinion about something, whatever it is that you would like to share and partake in. Also, if you're watching us and you want to be part of our chat, please feel free to put your name right under, right besides the window. You'll see a place to put your nickname. You can put your name, nickname, whatever, and send it to us, and then you'll be part of our chat window, and you can engage with the people that are in the chat as well. So you have all the stress, and stress is not just the big things. Robert was mentioning big things. a divorce, the illness of a child. But the stress that it will kill us is the little stresses also that appear day by day, month by month, year by year that we don't address. And those are
Hmm.
just as deadly as the big stresses. So let's just
Right.
say that as well. So Robert, you have all the stress, and
Hmm.
you have worn your body down, which probably again will wear down your immune system. Who knows? Maybe we all have the propensity to have, devastating illnesses. But when your playground, when your system is in the right shape, the right frame, it can handle things. If it's
Hmm.
not, it can't handle a cold. So,
Yeah.
Robert, right?
Yep. That's exactly right. And as you said, it's a lot of little things. It's like a cascading problem. It builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. You don't know what it is. And in a way, when I say clues, I think that so many of us, we've seen the commercial, we've seen the warnings, we've seen, I mean, people smoke, right? And it says, this causes cancer, so I don't think we always want to admit the truth to ourselves, and we just want to go about our lives, and it's like, okay, this is stressful, but if I eat this comfort food, I'll feel better and I'll be able to get through today, and then, tomorrow I'll do better, and the thing about life is it's one better decision every day. You have to make one better decision every time you have a decision to make. And if you are the type of person like I was being most of the time, it's like, okay, well, that's going to be stressful, but I'm going to plow right through it, whatever it is. Or I don't like what's happening now, but I'm just going to ignore it. Or, this is hurting me, and I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. So people don't change until they're too afraid not to. And if anybody could hear one thing from me, I wish they would hear that. It's like, don't wait until you're too afraid not to change, because you can do better. You can make one better decision every day. Just one. Just try one. And whatever that is, that's got to be up to you. It's got to be up to you, and based upon what's there for you. I can't tell you that. What's there for me was just a tremendous amount of things having to do with mostly putting myself way over my own ability to handle stress, I think, and then not feeding my body what it really needed so that it could be as strong as possible. And I'm talking about your immune system here. The immune system is a miraculous thing in your body.
So talk to us about what you mean by miraculous, and the immune system and what it can do, because I know you've learned a lot about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I say miraculous, I mean to me, the fact that we're here is absolutely a miracle. And I think we take that for granted. And then we're here, we live our lives, and we don't realize that, number one, everyone has cancer. Now, this is going to sound really strange, but everyone has cancer. And what that means is that your body replaces all of its cells. Now, see, we've heard this, right? Every 7 years, your body replaces all of its cells. And the cells, they split like that, right? And then they split, they replicate. But the thing is that, well, why are antioxidants important? Because when cells split, they need electrons. And if you use oils that are just heavily processed, and have had all these chemical properties removed from them, they can't do what they do. So your cells start to reproduce wrong. And those cells that break off and aren't correct, that there's something wrong with them, like in their DNA or in their cell structure, or in their cell walls. The immune system normally knows how to kill them. There's killer cells and T cells, and your immune system, when it's strong, all you have to do is just live, and it takes care of all of these cells. But after a while, your immune system gets dulled because we're eating all this, well, crap, and we're eating all this stuff that we really shouldn't be eating, and that's not giving us the chemical fuel to build up those cells that go and kill the bad cells in us. So, everyone has cancer. But when you get to that point, when you have sufficiently not taken care of your body as well as you could have by making maybe one better choice every day, then you will start to see the results of growing cancer in your body. And it will manifest in different places for different people. And that's because we all have different genetic strengths. I don't believe that there is such a thing as like a genetic propensity to get breast cancer, like you're going to get breast cancer, for example. What it is that some of us are stronger in certain areas. Like, you ever see weightlifters, when they get those big bulgy muscles? They call it fast twitch muscle. Well, not everybody has that, and that's okay. And when you wind up with cancer somewhere in your body, that's your spot. That's your weaker spot for you. So, keeping your immune system as a sharp knife, the tool that the body has to fight off these improperly developing cells within your body, that's the key to destroying cancer cells in your body. But realize you have cancer. And if that doesn't scare you enough to make one better choice today, I'm not quite sure what is, because nobody ever said,
Really?
Robert, you know what? You have cancer. And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, sure. No, I don't.
So-
the doctor didn't tell me I do.
So
So go ahead.
So the idea is that, as Robert is saying, we, at any point in time, these cancer cells can be triggered to grow into a full-blown case of cancer. Now, there are some situations, as Debbie is saying on our chat, where there's hereditary factors involved. I mean, there are so there's all kinds of things that are involved in our system, in our immune system.
Right.
So the other thing that Robert is also alluding to is the fact that once you, and I believe this is true, once you understand this, you can take better care of your body so that it doesn't go into this full-blown cancer. And when you do have cancer, as Robert has or had, and when he is now taking care of his body, he can wake up his body to then take care of himself, to heal himself, to regenerate himself. And that's what you're doing now, right? That's what you're doing
That's
now.
exactly right.
So you told
That's
me
exactly
a really great story that I wanted you to share, first of all, about your doctor. Number one, I think that's a great lesson in for all of us to know how much power we have over our own medical care. So why don't you share, you remember what story that was? That you, about the doctor that you chose and that you told, and the things that you told him that you wanted done for yourself and how you wanted to have things handled?
Right. Okay. Sure. Well, I have an oncologist, and he's the doctor that normally is the guy that immediately wants to give you chemotherapy or radiation and manage all that for you. And see, when I first got cancer, it was January 10th. So for the next 6 weeks, I just had radical surgery. So they can't start you on a horrendous protocol like chemo unless you're more healed from that. So I had 6 weeks to really dig in deep and read and study and find out what was going on. So after 6 weeks, then I finally met my oncologist, and I'm not going to say his name. Let's see. He's a very good man, and he's firmly believes in what he's doing, and that his goal is to heal people using the tools that he believes are the ones that are best, and the one is, it's in his toolkit, it's what he does. So when I first met him, he told me that I guess toward the end of our 2.5-hour session, he said to me that his goal was to properly motivate me and put sort of the fear of God in me. And I think he did that because at one point I said to him, okay, if we do nothing here, how long do I have? And he said, well, you've got about, I would give you maybe 12 months. And you probably, you had the same reaction I had, was like, gulp. And I said, okay, so what if I do chemotherapy? What do you give me? He said, well, about 30 months. So it's about 2.5 years. Well, the thing about that is that colon cancer has a 1% cure rate. So no matter what they do, has a 1% cure rate. Most cancers have a 3% cure rate on average. And let me just sidebar here very, very quickly and just say, in medical terminology, a cure means that you survived their treatment for 5 years, more than 5 years after your date of diagnosis. Now think about that. If you died in the first week of the 6th year, you are declared a cure because they got you past 5 years. So that's like playing football and moving the goalpost back to the 5-yard line. So all you've got to do is run 5 yards to get a touchdown. I mean, it really changes their game. You know, it's like when I go for 100% as an entrepreneur, I go for 110 so I hit 100. Anyway, that's a sidebar in cures. So I realized there's got to be something more I can do. When I asked my oncologist, what can I do for myself? He looked at me kind of like, huh? I don't understand the question. And I've found out that oncologists generally make no recommendations in this area that I'm able to find. I've spoken to several people who have gone through cancer treatment very recently, standard treatment, and I said, did your oncologist say anything about what else you could do? The answer was always no. So that may not always be the case, but it's pretty much, you know, what I've come across. And so my oncologist scared me to death, and I was duly scared. And you know, I said to him, here's what I want to do. I want to try. See, I figure, all right, 12. You say I got minimum, if I do nothing, 12 months. That means I can take 2 or 3 months, my call, and I can try something. And I would like you to be my teammate on this. I would like you to do what you do. I would like you to perform tests, and let's do an MRI to baseline everything. I did show some tumors in my liver. Actually, that's why it's stage 4. It moved beyond the tumor and was elsewhere in my body. And that elsewhere was my liver. So here's this cancer in my liver that I want to monitor. I mean, you know, you would too. And I think we all would. So you know, I asked him to do that. I asked him to do blood work every 2 weeks and to monitor all of the things in my liver, the liver panel, everything that you do. And so we kind of teamed up, and he said, all right, you know, I'll be happy to do that. And he's been true to his word, and he's done all that. And we just met last week. And what happened was that he was very surprised. He was very surprised. He didn't, I mean, reading between the lines, you know, he didn't expect me to be doing as well as I'm doing. Because really, what am I doing? I'm doing nothing, right? I'm doing nothing, and I'm getting better. So all my numbers are better. I had the tumor, one of the tumors is slightly larger, but keep in mind that you don't die from a tumor. You die from the effects of cancer taking over all the other organs and making them fail. But that's not happening right now. Right now, the liver is a filter. So it's filtering out the stuff, you know, and it's doing whatever it's doing to, you know, right now my liver's working hard. Let's just say that, because I am improving my immune system's ability to clean out the cancer in my body elsewhere, and it's working.
So what are you
My
doing
lymph system is clearing up.
What are you doing?
Well,
What's your regimen?
in all the areas that I could, I have lowered my stress and the inflammation causing activities. So from stressing myself about, you know, finding the next client or doing business, everything is on hold. From a dietary standpoint, the minute I got out of the hospital, I went on a vegetarian diet. And after 6 weeks, when I started my therapy, the therapy that I'm doing, I actually, this is not a plug, but this is just a book here. It's called Cancer Free by Bill Henderson. If you want to know what I'm doing, it's chapter 5 in this book mostly and I'm going to add more to that. But you know, I don't get anything for that. I'm just saying I'm appreciative of this man's work. He's 80 some odd years old. His wife died of cancer, and he watched her die from standard cancer treatment. And he's helped, so I think the number is close to 6,000 people deal with their cancers, and many of them have been cured. You know, much larger percentage. And what I'm doing dietary-wise is derived from the Joanna Budwig's protocol. Dr. Joanna Budwig was a physician and a pharmacist, and she died in, I think, 2004 or 5. And her work was brilliant. So now on the roles of oils, we've all heard of omega-3 and how important that is. And omega-3 is in flaxseed oil, is a great source of it. But to make it more bioavailable, I mix it with cottage cheese and some berries, which are good antioxidants. And you know, I mix all that together and I drink it in the morning. And It lasts me 6, 7 hours before I even think about getting hungry. And then I have a huge salad. All this is on my website, robertscancercure.com. If you go there, I've posted a number of articles. One is on this giant salad that I make and how to do it yourself. And there is a lot of other information out there. There's a site called cancertutor.com, which is amazing. This man has the gift that he has given to us on this site is incredible because he talks about treatments of all kinds of cancer and all kinds of treatments.
Let me
And
just say this. Let me just say one
sure.
thing.
Hmm.
One thing that I've just noticed, when you are faced with this, somebody tells you, oh, you have 12 months to live and you're hearing from the doctor and they scare you to death, you could just go home and go to bed. Just wait for the
Yeah.
inevitable to be inevitable. That's not what Robert did. He didn't allow that to be. He wants to live. And that's of everything.
Absolutely.
You can get rid of your stress. That's great. You have to do all that. You have to really, to your bones, to your blood, to your cells, you have to want to live. I mean, that's manifesting,
Amen.
right?
That's right. That's right. I want to live. I made a decision. I said, he said 12 months. He said 30 months. And I said, no, I'll take door number 3. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to find it. And as far as I'm concerned, I have researched just about everything. And there are some very key, you're asking me what I'm doing. So there are some very key things that most of the cancer treatments are based on. One of them is called the cancer diet. Well, it's basically a very plant-strong vegetarian diet. And in addition to that, Budwig is one of the main players. Gerson, Dr. Max Gerson is another one. He used juicing, and Budwig uses juicing. They all pretty much use juicing, but you get a juicer and you juice vegetables, carrots and celery and all that, the beets and all that stuff. You have to do what you can to pull as much of the micronutrients and phytonutrients out of the plants, out of the vegetables as possible and consume them. You don't need as much, you don't need all that fiber, so that's why they juice it, because you just couldn't consume that much vegetables.
And we have a phone call, Robert. You have a
Sure,
phone call. So let's say hello to our caller. Hello.
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 Hi, Marilyn.
Hey,
and hi, Robert.
Hi.
I'm wishing you all the best for feeling good and longevity. All of the steps that you're taking are phenomenal. You've really done an incredible investigation into taking control of your life and your health based on what I'm hearing of your story right now. I did the same thing way back in 1999, although I didn't have colon cancer, I had breast cancer. And, I'm still here to speak, and you will be too in 15 years.
Thank you.
What you said about the purpose of the body building a cancer, building a tumor, it's doing its job. Its fundamental purpose is survival. And the fact that it builds a tumor, it's encapsulating those negative aspects, the toxins, and preserving your primary organs. So
That's right.
You know that, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I said you don't die of a tumor. You die of spreading cancer all over your body and not dealing with it.
Yeah. So, you can take a look outside when you go for a walk, a hike in the woods. You're going to see trees that are 100, 150 years old. They have great big tumors on them, great big nodules. They're still living. They still have leaves and fruit and flowers. That is a survival mechanism in all of life. Of course, we would like to see the tumors shrink, and we would like to see them not spread and the cancer cells get out of control. That's really it. And the essence of cancer itself is the theme, I guess, in everyone's life, and because I'm a homeopath, homeopathically, is control and chaos, differentiation. The cells lose their ability to be specialized and perform their functions. So we want to enhance the body's ability through all the things that you're doing with nutritional care and not feeding it stress hormones that are in meat, things like that you've already learned, how to improve the ability of your body's own immune system to function at its highest level.
Right, because it knows how to cure
that
cancer.
reduction in stress is a really key component. So I think you're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you. Debbie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said you cured yourself of breast cancer.
No, I went through surgery, chemo, and radiation. It was hell on earth.
Right.
I would never want to do it again. As a matter of fact, I just heard about another famous homeopath who is a little bit younger than me, who just had a double mastectomy simply because she has the BRCA gene.
Oh, that's terrible.
And she was told, the best chance for her to live would be to take that action. I don't know if I would ever do such a thing at this point in my life, knowing and believing the power of the body to heal. But I respect her 100% because she is a living, breathing a person who heals other people with homeopathy, and she's actually a naturopath with all the all the tools at our disposal. And if she made such a decision, I have to look at her as a model of some kind, and we have to respect each person for their own decisions. Well, did I answer any of your questions?
I've heard of a lot of people who are able to cure their breast cancer as well, and I've spoken to a number of people that one of them cured herself of ovarian cancer, which is, as we know, very virulent, among the cancers. There are a lot of people that are actually curing themselves without surgery, without chemo, and without radiation. And I mean, if you look at Dr. Joanna Budwig's work, let me give you an example. In her clinical work, it's reportedly that she worked with 2,500 patients and had a 90% cure rate. Now, that cure rate's not 5 years. That's you live the rest of your life like you are. And, so there are viable ways to help your body to shrink the tumors, to make them go away, to make them never come back again, and to just put yourself back in the condition that you were in when you were born. When you knew, for all those years when you were young, your body just knew how to deal with it until you just pummeled it to the point where it couldn't do it anymore. So it's really, I think it's up to you. I think it's up to people to take the reins of their own life and their own health care and to learn about these things and not just go, yeah, I'm going to do this today and tomorrow I'll be better. No, you need to be better today.
Let me just say something too. I don't think this type of care and this type of self-care, self-love is only for the rich or the middle class. This is for everybody. The kinds of things, the kinds of things we're talking about here is what anybody can do for themselves.
Yep.
Right?
Let me just say that the therapy, Marilyn, that I'm using, the one actually outlined in this book here by Bill Henderson, is it costs about $300 a month, give or take, with food and that kind of thing. The ones that do a heavy juicing, you may have a lot more, a little bit more on the food side with organic food, but you're not buying meat, you're not buying dairy, those are expensive. You're not buying processed food, those are very expensive. So for a few $100s a month, I mean, anybody can really have a really good shot here at curing themselves of cancer and never getting it ever again, if they take care of themselves.
Exactly. Debbie?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many tools at your disposal. There is yoga and meditation and breathing for reducing stress. There's acupuncture and body postures. Obviously, the foods. I know that when I was going through cancer, I took a lot of ginseng and astragalus. You can make the bone broth. You can make soups from Weston Price. You can use the probiotics like the sauerkraut. Today, I would, and I do today. There's turmeric and turmeric extract, which is there are many things that are anti-cancer properties. There's ginger. The list goes on and on of the number of whole foods that you can have, herbs and roots that are available to you. And you can get them over the counter at your health food stores, your vitamin shops, and things like that. It's always important to have somebody guide you, somebody who is experienced and who knows what's going on and how to recognize signs and symptoms of progression of disease. Now, so if you go through chemo and all of that radiation and stuff, what you end up is a shell of yourself because all of your cells are being killed, being attacked by the chemotherapy. Although they're trying to create some new targeted treatments. But your complexion, you would be pale. You would have lost all of the beautiful pinkness in your skin. You would have fatigue and nausea and all sorts of side effects from having those drugs. I think I want to add homeopathy because there are treatment centers, especially in India, where they're doing phenomenal work curing people or complete remission, I can say, of children who have brain gliomas. I just went to a two-day full weekend workshop with Dr. Pawan, who showed us on CT scans, MRI, and blood work, women whose tumors disappeared using homeopathic care. So I think we have a lot of things available to us that we need to get integrated into the medical community.
Well, you know what, Debbie, and I really thank you for sharing so much because it really, I mean, this is how people find out about this. It's from people like you having the personal experience and the knowledge and sharing it, and Robert stepping forward and, you know, this being courageous and also taking this on as this is like, you know, like a duty you have to share this information with the world. And I see Robert, you know, shaking his head because that's what you're doing, right, Robert?
Yeah, I really feel very passionate about the fact that I've learned this. And ever since I've learned, you know when you buy a new car and all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere? I've got this thing now, and I'm meeting people with cancer like everywhere. And as horrible as that is like I'm noticing this, and I just want to give this away. I just want them to know that, hey, you know, guess what? You can cure yourself. And so many people are they just follow whatever the doctor says. And people don't know the difference really between what allopathy and homeopathy really are. Homeopathy is sort of everything that's not normal medicine, really. And normal medicine is, for cancer, is surgery, chemo, and radiation. And those are the three things. And, you know, the interesting part about this is that, you know, it's really hard for allopathy to change in the world, in this country, because it's a $200 billion+ business every year. And when you've got that many people whose lives depend on the cash flow of normal allopathy, which you know, the average cancer patient is worth about $1 million or more in that system. Now, if you take those people out of that system and everybody gets healthy because they can, and using all kinds of homeopathic and natural methods, as opposed to these multi-million dollar and billion-dollar industry methods that don't work for the most part. I mean, like I said, 5-year cure.
Right,
and,
right.
You know, I mean, think about it. It's really hard for people because they trust doctors. When they get to this point in their life, they've been going to the doctor all their life. And the doctor says, okay, this is what we got for you. Door number 1 and door number 2. I had to choose door number 3, and I had to figure out what was in that door. I had to almost invent it. And I called a lot of people. I talked to a lot of people, and I found that for as many people as there were, see, allopathy is very certain of what they're going to do for you. Homeopathy, there's almost as many different variations and approaches as there are people practicing. So what you have to do is, I think you have to find your own internal truth after a while. You have to find what resonates with you. You have to find people that you trust.
And now I'm going to hold on 1 second. I want to just say something. Debbie, you still there? Yeah. Thank you, Debbie.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie, for calling in. I appreciate it. You're brilliant.
Have a great show.
Thank you, honey. Thanks. You have to, let's go back to one thing. You have to want to live. You have to love life enough not to give it up. Because if you don't love life, then then there's no purpose. There's no hope. You have to want to live, to have hope, to see alternatives. Many, many, many years ago, I had the pleasure of listening to this comedian. He's a speaker. He talks about humor. And he was diagnosed with cancer. And the doctors, now this is a long time ago, but I know it's got to be similar. So he checked into a hospital, and the doctor said, maybe he had a year, maybe he had 6 months. He looked at himself and he said, why would I stay here? Why would I allow a doctor who doesn't believe that I am going to live past 6 months or a year treat me? Why would I do that?
Exactly.
What's the purpose behind that? Are they going to give me everything that they can possibly give me? Maybe not, because they think I'm going to die. So if you have hope, then you're not going to turn it over to that. You're going to go with every last breath you have, to find what you need to help yourself, right?
Yeah, and it pains me when people just, they kind of get that la 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 la, when you're talking to them about this stuff. It really pains me when they're just not wanting to really hear this message.
But that's the entrepreneur in you. That's the entrepreneur.
I know.
That's what an entrepreneur, blah, 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 blah. An entrepreneur does. They go to the end of the skinny branch by themselves. They're risk takers. They're not going with what they think is the safe thing. People that I hear it all the time, just like you do, members of my own family, well, the doctor said I should take this. And I'm like, I'm shivering because, it's the safe, what they think is the safe thing is to ask a doctor. That's what the publicity says.
Right. Yeah. And we're in this place right now where we've got people talk about healthcare costs going out of control. And, my healthcare cost has been a few $100s a month, where it could have been tens of thousands of dollars a month. I mean, a chemotherapy treatment costs somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000 for a little bag of chemicals. That's astounding, and the fact that we can do something about that. Now, that's, again, not good for the medical industry and the cash flow in those businesses. But as an entrepreneur, I know that there's lots of other ways that we can all make money together if we're living and healthy, as opposed to, stressing ourselves out because we're running around like chickens without a head. There's got to be other ways to do this. I don't know what they are, but the entrepreneur in me believes that we can do better. And we can do better as people, as in a community, and individually. We can do better, and you can make one better choice every day. You can just make one. That's all I'm asking you to do. Make one better choice for yourself every day and see what happens.
Right. Debbie is asking, who is behind you playing the saxophone? And I said, I think it's your son, right?
Oh yeah, that's my son Matt, and Matt is a wonderful boy. He's 24 years old. He's at UNC at Asheville right now, and he's just really coming into his own as a person. And my other son is Gregory, and the two of them are why I want to live. I don't have any grandkids yet, but I want to see them. And I love my sons. They are like my world, and just to be able to just leave like this. I'm 54 years old. No way. You know, I am sticking around for a long time.
Tell me what life means to you. I know you just mentioned your sons, but what is it? What does life mean to you? What is that
Say again,
thing? What does life mean to you?
light?
Life.
Life. Oh,
Yeah. What does
life.
life mean to you?
I've had a lot of time to think about that. No one's ever asked me what does life mean to me. You know, it's so rare that we're here. And I've had so many wonderful experiences in my life. And I don't want to go back and, you know, sort of historically recreate them. But I just realized that there's so much more. And I don't know what it is. And life really is the journey. It's our journey together. And the beautiful thing about that is that we can only be in the now and moving, you know, in this perceived forwards. That's what goals are. So, you know, set some more goals, continue down the journey. I don't know where the path is going to lead me, but it's got to be great, you know. And I just want to stick around as long as I can to enjoy it. And that's kind of what life means to me.
You know, and I think, Robert, I would have to say that sometimes the clue, getting a clue, is that, you know, I think sometimes you have a clue that you're not done yet.
Yep, not done yet.
You're not done yet, and almost no matter what. And I preface that by saying almost no matter what, but almost no matter what, nothing can get you down, and nothing can, because you're not done yet. You've got some things left to share, some things left to give.
Yep.
To learn, to be a part of, to support. You're not done yet.
I know. Life has groomed me for something. It's
Yes,
gotta
and,
be
and
something
I,
more,
yeah,
you know?
and that's a good way to say it. I usually say I've been set up, but I think I'm going to stay groomed. I always say set up, but I think groom's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so you have, and so now you're put into a position to share this, and you're doing better, right? You just got a report, and you started to say it before, but I might have interrupted you, and I apologize.
That's
So
right.
you're doing better now. You got a better
Yes.
report. Can you
Yes.
fill us in a little bit if you can, if that's okay?
Sure.
Or
Yeah, just a thumbnail on that is
Yeah.
I'm doing better, and better means that after my 8-week trial of my own design with my oncologist, you know, doing the testing for me, we came back and he was very surprised that I was doing so well in almost all areas, with the exception of this one tumor, which is probably just, I don't know what it's doing in my liver, but it's not affecting my liver whatsoever. There's no swelling. My liver is actually performing better than most people's livers. It has indicators on it that say that I will live a long and happy life. So I don't know what that means, but he says, well, since you're doing so well, let's continue your trial for another 8 weeks. This is the same guy who said, we got to get you in chemo like immediately or you're going to die. So he says, like, let's continue for another 8 weeks, but let's put you in the hospital and reconnect your colon, because I have an ostomy where they removed it, and it was emergency surgery, and my colon was so swollen that they couldn't reconnect it after they took out about, I don't know, this much of it. And so it's been sitting here sticking out of the front of me, and he just, as a matter of quality of life, said, hey, you're in such good shape, let's put you back in hospital and reconnect it. So I'm thrilled. I mean, I am really thrilled. I'm going to the hospital, yes, but when I come out, I'm going to be functioning normally, and I will just continue to get better. I've already recovered from that kind of surgery once. I know in 3 or 4 weeks I will be better, and I can do that. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I've taken on projects that have lasted, you know, 2 or 3 years, and I just settled myself in and said, okay, 2 or 3 years from now, it's going to be fine. And so, you know, a month or two right now is nothing for me from a visionary point of view. I think that I have a vision right now that I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to, you know, do more for my liver, and it's going to be all right. And I'm going to get back into life, and I'm going to continue down the road of my journey, and I'm going to share this with other people. And I'm writing as much of this as I can on my blog at robertscancercure.com. And I just want to share this, so that was one way to do it. People asked me to write about it, so that's where I'm writing about it.
well, you know, Debbie wrote on here, milk thistle is good for your liver, which I'm sure you already know that too. Coffee.
Thank you,
I
Chris.
found coffee recently, went to a liver specialist when they thought I had something wrong with my liver, and they said, drink coffee. And I said, really? It's amazing what people tell you is not good, then somebody else tells you is good. So it is so
Oh,
confusing out there. You do have to make up your own choice. And isn't it wonderful? Shouldn't we all clap and celebrate the fact that Robert is going in for something to be connected as opposed to be something being taken off or unconnected? I mean, isn't that
yeah.
a joy?
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It
That's a
is.
joy.
Thank
And it's a big deal in such a short
Yeah.
period of time that that even your doctor has the vision that
hmm
you don't even have to wait much. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all going in the right direction. So we're
Yeah.
delighted. That's so wonderful. And we
So he
only have
said
a
if
go ahead.
he said that if things actually continued going the way they're going, as opposed to his original diagnosis, prognosis rather, of the 12 or 30 months, he says, it's just open ended. That was his words, open ended. So now I've moved from the curve all the way down to the open ended part. I could live for a long time.
And that
if
was in
things
no time, almost, relatively
Yeah,
speaking.
that was 3 months.
3 months.
3 months. 3 months, and I recovered from major surgery. I have a really big, giant opening here that had to heal and close, and I have an ostomy that was like, an ostomy is like a hernia. It's a giant hernia, and it's sticking out through your abdominal wall. So, I mean, those are challenges just
Yeah.
by themselves. So,
But one thing before, this is all important, but there's one thing that just came to me that I think we really should address before we end
Sure.
because we're almost there. Speak to the people who don't have support, who are out
yeah.
there, who don't have the support of somebody encouraging them to do their own thing, but everybody else telling them that they shouldn't. So what would you say to them?
well, there's two things. One is your own belief, and the other is the belief of others around you. And the support of others comes in two different ways. One is that kind of moral support. Where yeah, go, 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 we believe in you, we believe in you. The other is this kind of support where they support what you're doing. And I had to dance on this razor's edge as I discussed my approach with my mother, for example, because I knew that if I didn't phrase things like about my doctor, that I was doing what the doctor said in some way, that we didn't have, I said we had a collaboration going on, and I said it's a different kind of therapy, but he's behind it, and she went, oh, okay, great. You can sort of help people understand how to support you, and I have to say that I was in a very bad place in January. I mean, things were marginal for me in a lot of ways, and I mean, financially tough because, business ups and downs since 2008, and everything has just been tough. And nothing was easy. People actually contributed. I didn't have health insurance. I was signing up for health insurance, the Obamacare thing, just, that 15-day waiting period. Well, I was in the process of signing up, wound up in the hospital just before we were doing that, and wound up at $60,000 worth of bills. And we put out a site that a lot of people to donate, and people donated almost $10,000 to help. We asked for their help, they gave it, and without that help, I don't know what would have happened, because it's enabled us to get, where we are now. And everything has come because, you ask for help and you get it. And it's just like, I haven't spoken to God as much as I've ever in my life. I'm not even sure, who that God is, but I just, said, okay, universe, I have to surrender now. I need your help. I don't know what to do. And people have been so forthcoming. They've been so helpful. They've referred books to me. They've done so many things. And if you don't feel like you have the support, then maybe I think you're not looking around, and you're not talking to people, and you're not, getting in touch with people. Contact all the people that you love. Let them know what's going on, and, they will be there for you however they can. It's sort of the miracle of community and family, and my family has been my rock. That's all I can say. They've been a rock for me. And if you don't have a family, friends are family you make for yourself. Remember that. You have family, you have friends, and you have community. And, the help is there. People, when I didn't have money for things, they said, don't worry about it. Let's talk. Whatever you need, you can work it out. It's possible. You got to believe it's possible. You got to believe. So if you think you don't have what you need, think again and believe. And I think that stuff starts to happen. It's like the law of attraction. Nanette and I worked on this for years. Her whole business was built around it. She's helped thousands of people. The law of attraction fundamentally starts with you. So you have to believe and attract what you need, and it's there. I believe that.
And one of the things, like, just sometimes when I start the show, I'll offer up a quote. I didn't do that today because I wanted to get into it, but I have one now that just came to me from listening to Robert speak, and it is, freedom comes from listening to others. And, you know, Marilyn Shannon, because listening to Robert, you know, that's where freedom comes from. It's from these stories. You know, it's connecting to other people who are going through something that you could, you know, Robert's just an everyday guy. How, you know, Robert, how would somebody reach you?
Well, they can reach me. There's a contact form on that website, robertscancercure.com. And, you know, just fill it out and I'll respond. And I would love to hear from you. And especially would love to hear from, I would love to hear from some survivors as well and hear your stories. I'm willing to publish some of them if you want, to share, to encourage. One of the things that helps people is to know that there's other people out there like them who have overcome. And like one of my really good friends right now, his wife, he just said that she's been diagnosed with some kind of breast cancer. And God knows I don't want her to have to undergo the knife and do all this stuff, especially if some alternative methods might work for her. And certainly to hear from other survivors would encourage her. And I would like to share your stories as well. So if there's anybody out there listening that you know, wants to, just contact me at you know, Robert at robertscancercure.com, or just go to my website and fill out the contact form. It's robertscancercure.com.
That's perfect. And remember, freedom comes from listening to others. So when you listen to these stories and you hear somebody or you notice somebody that's gone through something similar, you know, people, a lot of these people want to connect. They want to share their stories of the miracle in their life. And that's how, what we're supposed to do with miracles is we're supposed to share them, I believe. So I want to thank Robert for opening up and being such a fabulous host. Guest. I should say host too. Why not? I think you maybe should be. There you go. You should be a host of your own show, Robert.
Wow, I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, people need to hear.
Offline.
Yeah, we need to talk about it because people need to hear more of this and have a place to come. So I will have to talk about that. But I do thank you for being here, and I thank all of you for participating and sending your vibes, because we felt it, I felt it, and it's been a pleasure to be here with all of you today. Thank you, Amnon, for everything, and everybody on the chat. And we will be here next week with another stunning story, another stunning show. Thank you again. Have a wonderful week. And Robert, we'll talk further. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Marilyn. Bye, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.